You're listening to a Galactic Network podcast. For more, go to gncast.com.
We are the ElseNerds.
Hello and welcome to ElseNerds, a production of Galactic Network. I'm Gregor Sprague, and joining me is Corey Scott. And real quick, before we get started, for all info on this show, including show notes and subscription links, go to ElseNerds.com. And for other Galactic Network programs, go to gncast.com. And on ElseNerds, we tend to shoot our mouths off without thinking, so we will both spoil things and swear liberally. You have been
It's kind of like it's like Doritos that crunch. Apparently, not for everybody.
So, okay, because I was, coincidentally enough, while doing my running arounds today, because today was supposed to be my day off, but someone called off at work, so yeah, I got 5.5 extra hours, and they were talking about this on Tuesday's episode of the morning stream, which I was listening to today. I need an article to support this, because I'm like, wait, what, really? How dumb can the Doritos executive be, or the Pepsi executive be, about a crunchless Dorito that leaves less powder?
I believe that is called the Doritos Locos Taco Shell, because that's exactly what that is. It doesn't crunch. It's basically just powder. It just falls apart around your taco fixings. Man, that's the thing, is that there's always somebody in a room coming up with just the stupidest ideas, hoping one of them clicks and they can market it to somebody. It's not surprising. It's just so weird how they try to break it up by gender, by perfectly obscure reasoning. It's like men and women are different, so we have to find a way to appeal more to women because women apparently don't eat Doritos. Meet my fucking wife sometime. My wife loves the Doritos. The women that I hang out with on Fridays for our gaming group love junk food as much as anybody else. It's not all that they eat. So if you're looking for the person who is just captured and wrapped and surrounded by Doritos bags and Little Debbie, now I'm talking about myself. That's fine, but you can't market something like a snack food based off of gender. That's the part that's dumb.
I would say, if in all honesty, and this is not a part of the show, if they wanted to market it more towards women, maybe don't have featuring prolifically until the Super Bowl came this past week, a commercial where you have a dude who's, reads a sign that says "Don't play fetch with a dog," and then he gets a Dorito chip, then he gets a whole bag, and he's in the middle of asking for a bare naked lady because he sees this supermodel on a magazine cover and ends up getting a bear. Maybe do something that's not super, like, clearly one gender's favored here and stuff, but I don't know.
I mean, that presumes that presumes that there aren't women Dorito eaters out there who also wouldn't like to have a supermodel brought to them by a magic dog. You're right. The ads lean kind of sexist already as it is, and that's itself its own separate problem. Is marketing is rough, but I can't point fingers because I'm subjected to it and I enjoy a lot of it. I don't enjoy all of it. I think that there's certainly stuff that I'm like, that's really stupid. GoDaddy for years was something that I could never support because their ads were just the fucking worst. And they just like to pile on top of it and pile on top of it. Yet I crack the fuck up when I see the little Jack in the Box puppet sitting there talking to the guy. They're obviously both getting stoned in the guy's basement. And the guy's like, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know, look at pictures of your sister. I laughed my ass off at that. And then they had the other one where the actual Jack in the Box dude is sitting there in the office room and they do this commercial and it's back and forth. And he just kind of looks at the screen and goes, this is the worst commercial ever. And then the two women that are there in the room with him say, well, we could kiss. Like, yes, absolutely sexist, over the top. Like, I can't believe they did that in Jack in the Box commercial. But because I can't believe they did that in Jack in the Box commercial, I thought it was the funniest fucking thing in the world. That was a short-lived ad, but I loved it. So I'm not above any of this. I just do think that there's someone who says we can't market to men the same way that we market to women. It's not we should start marketing our products differently. It's, oh, we should make different products that women like more, even though there doesn't seem to be any research in the fact that who wants a fucking dead chip? I don't know. Beats bringing up the Martin Luther King car commercial. I didn't see it. I can definitely understand why people are bothered by it. It's a weird thing to choose, but it's kind of like the first time I saw Nike use the Beatles Revolution in an ad, and it was just holy shit. You know, we fucking lost the Beatles to ad jingles now, and I believe that was because it was owned by Michael Jackson in concession with Yoko Ono or something. But it was just like, really, this is where we're at, and that was kind of like the day the music died to me as a kid in the 80s. So, like, there were some good Super Bowl ads that I did not watch the Super Bowl to see. The best one, obviously, was the Tide commercials. Those were terrific. The David Harbour ones where everything is a Tide ad. And then they involved the guy from the Old Spice commercials from a few years ago. That was terrific. That was great marketing because, one, I love when other advertisers will get in bed with each other. Like when they did the Got Milk ad with the Trix Rabbit. Yeah. But they're all owned by the same company. You're right. But I dig that a lot. And just in general, they were fun. They were funny. They were for everybody. You know, that's the kind of thing that I go for way more than this disingenuous bullshit that seems to seep out because, well, we're playing to guys who watch sports. So here's some boobs. You know, it's like, yeah, we get it, man. But maybe realize that guys aren't the only ones who are watching sports. Like maybe they're at least there are wives in the room with them, or there are women watching sports, because I know that that's a fact too. Without any men around, women actually watch sports and enjoy it for their own fucking reasons. And you can make some pitches to them also. You know, try it sometime. And anybody who wants a dead Dorito chip, enjoy. Or just fucking leave them out. Leave the bag open for a couple of days. You got it. Yeah. You absolutely have it. And then you can fucking put it into potato soup. It won't add any texture, but it'll taste like shit.
Or just order anything from Taco Bell and just get it over with.
Man, so in the Taco Bell app, because I'm a fat man, you can special order your shit. I don't even know the
Taco Bell app. I mean, let's be honest here.
Yeah, or do it on the website. So you can order your shit. The reason why I order stuff through the Taco Bell app is because I'm picky like a motherfucker about stuff that's genuinely killing me. But I have my desires of, like, I don't like your nacho cheese. I think it's shit. I just want regular cheese instead. I know it's going to be an upcharge of 30 cents for some fucking reason to trade cheese for cheese, but I'm going to pay it. But so I order stuff through the app so that I don't have to sit and explain to somebody in a drive-through situation for like 20 minutes what the fuck I want. No, it's all printed up. And then I still go and I support the fucking place by going through the drive-through anyway, so people don't have to lose their fucking jobs. But it's just it's a kindness. It is a kindness for them. It's a kindness for me, so they don't fuck up my shit. So one of the things that Taco Bell has that I enjoy is the double-decker taco. I also enjoy the Doritos Locos tacos to a certain degree, but I don't understand why, with all the fucking variations I can do, and it actually lets me choose this, but then it just pisses all over my selection. Why can't I get the Doritos Locos taco shell inside the double-decker taco, so at least that extra layer of a fucking flour tortilla will hold my goddamn taco together, so I get the taste of Doritos Locos, but I don't have a fucking pit stain on my fucking plate of like what this is supposed to be. Like I want to actually pick up and chew my food, not just have it all fall in front of me like a fucking old person in a I fell and I can't get up commercial. Like I believe I'm not saying the customer's always right, but in this case, just fucking try it. I'm paying the extra 50 cents. Give me what I'm asking for. No. All right, fine. Fuck you, Taco Bell. How are you, Gregor?
I'm doing pretty good. I got, as people can see if they're watching the video, which you absolutely need to do over at on our YouTube channel here. I've got new furniture and stuff. I got a new dresser, a new desk, which you can't see because the computer is on the desk, obviously, and a new computer chair, which you can see when I lean away. Sort of, it's behind me. It's a nice, comfy computer chair, to be honest. The only problem I have is my ass is too fat for it. It's one of those gamer chairs, but it's not like so uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, my butt, and then I actually wall mounted my TV. So hey, it looks really cool. Like my room. I sent pictures to you guys in Slack, and I'll probably put them up on Instagram. Like, my room feels more adult. Now, ignore the fact that yes, and this is a Spider-Gwen. It's not a swim cap. It's like it's just a really long thing, and it's just sort of styled like a beanie sort of right now. Sorry, I meant like Garly Bear. But if you ignore the fact that my bookshelf, the top 2 shelves I want to make sure the third one wasn't or is just full of toys and collectibles and stuff like that, and then the other 3 are filled with books and or comic books. Yeah, I'm not exactly a full-on grown-up, but hey, it's a step closer than what it was before.
Well, keep in mind that comic books aren't written for kids anymore. They are written for 40-year-olds who live in their parents' basement still, according to, I don't know, people who work at Marvel. Because marketing.
Yeah.
There's some written for people my age. Like, as I keep getting older and older, I keep thinking I'm gonna fucking age out of comics, and my personal tastes have. But it seems like I'm still the demographic that superhero comics are shooting for, which is really funny because I haven't been the demographic for like MTV for about 30 years. And it shows. Like, every time I've tried to tune in just once, like, let's see what MTV's doing these days. Oh, yeah. Fuck that, and click right past, and then I go to the VH1. The VH1's like, no, we don't even give a shit about you anymore, sir. Go see if you can find an old Queen concert over on AXS or whatever. But comics just keep like ignoring the youth. Except DC, and I want to say something about this. I know it's not even one of our stories, but DC's got these 2 new imprints they're doing. One's called Ink, although it looks sort of like it says Oink, and I forget what the other one is. Dink, maybe, I don't know. One is for younger kids, and then one is for kind of like tweens on up. But they've got 2 new imprints of comic books that are pitched towards younger readers. And I am so proud of DC for this.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've been begging for years. I know I talked about it on a comic show that we used to do that we don't do that anymore. I had a kid who came in, a mom came in for her son. Her son loved Wonder Woman. This is before the Wonder Woman movie was out. There was the Wonder Woman cartoon movie that Kerry Russell was in. And he had seen that and he loved it. And she's like, I want to find him Wonder Woman comics. And this is this golden opportunity to get this kid who's not read comics before into this whole thing. And there were no comics that were age appropriate for this kid. And I just felt so terrible about that. Of all characters, there should be a Wonder Woman comic that's all ages. And for the last few years, I've struggled with that fact. Like, that particular moment really opened my eyes above so much other stuff. Thank you, Beat. It's DC Ink and DC Zoom. I didn't understand, and I really want to see that corrected because, man, even if I still had disposable income, and I don't. You were talking about your new furniture in your room. My room here is filled with firewood and accelerants, and hope. Like the complete abandonment of giving a shit anymore, and just like, strike me, Lord, strike me down. But like, if I still had the income to buy comics, I can only go so far, and I am literally a Doritos Locos Taco away from death at any given moment. I'm just gonna keel over, and then who's gonna buy your shitty ass Avengers book, Mark Waid? Like, nobody, because you haven't made it available to the next generation. You haven't enticed them in. Part of it's cost, But part of it is just because it's this bullshit, like fucking wall up of you're not who we care about. Well, maybe you fucking should. Maybe you open up a little bit more. And I think it's weird that a company that is owned by Disney, that has built their entire fucking business for the last 10 years about trying to appeal to adolescent boys because they could only ever feel like they were appealing to adolescent girls. Again, I watched a shit ton of Disney movies growing up. I never felt like I was being gender miscategorized or something. I was just like, this is a good fucking movie. I like these cartoons. The Hercules was fucking cool. Like, if you have these fucking Marvel comics, why can you not make them age appropriate for the audience that you claim that you want? It's weird. It's a little dumb. So DC's putting their fucking money where their mouth is. Now they're doing a lot of other imprints. They're doing Brian Bendis bullshit. Not technically bullshit. I'm just saying bullshit because I don't know what it fucking is yet. They've got the Young Animal stuff. They've got this shit rolling out from Metal. That heroes from Marvel that we put a DC mask on. All that stuff. That's all well and good, but it is more of the same. Like Young Animal's a weirder imprint, but it's kind of like a cool modern Vertigo with DC mainstream universe shit. But this is different, and DC's tried stuff like this before. They did the Minx line years ago, and Marvel tried it with Tsunami, but Tsunami, while it had Runaways and Sentinel, did also have like more adult books that were based around Venom and Mystique and Emma Frost. And Emma Frost was just like low cut everything on every cover by Greg Land because that's all he knows how to draw because he only watches porn.
Well, here's so on this too, and we might as well just make it the first news story because I'm trying to transition into news, but it's really hard and all that. But the other part with this, with both Ink and Zoom, is they're not traditional comic books. They are graphic novels.
Right. Which is another huge move.
They're doing the European version where they do more of the collections, it's more of the graphic novel stuff, original graphic novels, than the single floppy issues. But so here's the from and this is, we have links to their show notes. The titles from the and creators for DC Inc., which is the young adult line. You have Batman Gotham High, which they could have just honestly done Gotham Academy, in my opinion, on there. Done by Melissa De La Cruz. She did Alex and Eliza, Blue Blood series, Witches of East End series. Batman Nightcrawler, Nightwalker, the graphic novel, done by Mary Lou, which I think she might have written the book that this is based off of. Teen Titans, done by Cami Garcia. Under the Moon, a Catwoman tale, done by Lauren Miracle, and then Wonder Woman Tempest Tossed by Lori Hulse Anderson. The other part of that you can point out, all those women all them that I just mentioned are, as far as I know, women. I mean, as like from looking at this, I'm like, it sounds like women, and not, which is really cool. The Zoom are they say more middle school focused, but you got Batman Tales, Once Upon a Crime. Writer and artist is Derek Fidroffs, and then Dustin Nguyen. Ooh, oh god,
Dustin Nguyen.
They got me with that one. Son of a bitch. Batman Overdrive by Shea Fontana, who's on the DC Superhero Girls series. Canary Ignite, Dear Justice, done by Meg Cabot. Dear Justice League, done by Michael Northrop. Green Lantern Legacy, done by Min Lee. Super Sons, done by Ridley Pearson. Superman of Smallville, writer and there we go. I was going to ask you, where's the art and Frank, or the Franco and Baltazar one, and Superman of Smallville, writer and artist Art Baltazar and Franco, who did Tiny Titans, and then Superman Smashes the Klan, done by Gene Yang, Avatar: Last Airbender series, New Superman, released as periodical. So this is going to be the one that's traditional comic book done, from what it sounds like. But yeah, so I mean, this honestly sounds really cool with how this, could very well be going about,
Yeah, Marvel, when they involved a bunch of, I don't want to just emphasize that they are female creators, but that was kind of what they were bringing in. They also brought in female creators who had very specific styles to work on a bunch of their books, and it was something that was over a few years, but I remember seeing it in a Hellcat book, and then kind of built up from there. When we got things like Gwenpool and the Squirrel Girl series and a bunch of other things. And now a lot of the backlash from traditional Marvel fans was that they didn't like this stuff being mixed in with their hardcore Marvel superheroes as they knew them. And that was also at the same time that we were seeing a lot of characters get replaced. I don't want to give too much agreement to what they were saying, because the reaction is just dumb. If you already weren't reading a Gwenpool comic, there was nothing forcing you to read a Gwenpool comic. Yes, the character was in continuity with the other characters and stuff, but you could still just kind of mostly ignore what was going on over in this other section. But because it bled into their world, and because Cap's a Nazi, which is, let's face it, fucking dumb, then they just felt like, oh, well, Marvel doesn't understand or care about its original fans, and these new fans aren't going to keep them afloat. And so you get some Marvel executives saying, yeah, the backlash was to all of our social justice warrior shit, which is not remotely true. But for some people, it was. It gave them validation that I don't think was deserved. So what I like about DC Inc. is that it's taking a lot of maybe similar types of creators, but it's giving them an imprint, and it's also making it aimed at an audience who would probably enjoy that type of work more. Instead of sticking a Gwenpool in the midst of a universe that's built, like I said earlier, for fucking 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds who've been reading comics for 30 or 40 years. It's aimed at new readers, young readers, people who have different aesthetics, people who've been watching things like Adventure Time and Teen Titans Go and all the other stuff on Cartoon Network, and are looking for that next thing to go on to. It's applying it to the right audience. And that's where I think the breakdown is that Marvel made some very good books, and it had some very, very good creators making those books, but the audience that they were trying to build did not have a very inviting experience coming into the mainstream Marvel universe and dealing with the other mainstream Marvel fans, which, again, a select group of Marvel fans, not all Marvel fans.
Yeah. So the other part here to point out is, because there's two articles that I'm jumping back and forth between, both of them from Newsarama. The other one is talking more about Superman Smashes the Klan, which is, they're guessing, because we're not going to know anything because they're not going to be released until fall, but they're guessing it relates to the real story of Superman, the Superman radio show, raising awareness and opposition to the Ku Klux Klan in the 1940s. And this is written by Jean Luen Liang, who's doing Justice League of China and the new Superman books right now. The other cool part about this is DC Zoom, which is the middle school geared books, will feature soft covers and will cost $9.99 for 128 pages.
Right, a really good entry point price to get in that new reader. Again, it's not like it's not costly. It's still $10 for a book for a generation that a lot of people claim don't read, but it's the right price to get people. You hand that to your parents if it's in a place where parents are going to see it with their kids.
Yes.
That's the other thing, is it's got to be marketed more than just mainstream comic stores. Although I love my local comic shops all over the world. If you don't have that audience already coming into your shop, there's no way to get this product in their hands.
True.
So it kind of makes sense that you got to get this product in a place where those customers already are.
Well,
when I was a kid, it was 7-Eleven, you know, but or drugstores and stuff. I don't think kids are going into those places that much anymore. So where would you find them?
So hold on, let me ask you this, because on the other side, DC Inked, which is the what's more high schooler focused line, there, as they say, young adults. Those ones are going to be 120 or 192 pages for $16.99. So that sounds about the traditional graphic novel price right now. And page size, you get those a lot at Barnes and Nobles, don't you?
Right.
Like at Barnes and Noble, and then like because they're not published.
What is this Barnes and Noble? Is this some sort of knighthood? I don't understand.
You also get them, and if you go in that route, I will flip you off. You also get them at Target, where
and now see that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Is that Target is a place where parents shop at Target. They often bring their kids with them to Target, and Target has things for both adults and kids. If you can get them in their hands there, if you can get the kids to say, "Hey, I want this book," and it's instead of the noise making thing over here, then that's a very good possibility. A Target, a Walmart, a Meijer.
No, hold on. Let me ask you this, because this is where I was leading to with it. Because I know Barnes and Noble has them. My Target that I work at, since we are a smaller Target, right now we have them in the back. We have the first volumes of a few of the Rebirth titles, but then the one that's prominently placed on the shelf, and I fucking hate it, is Killing Joke. We have Killing Joke is in the book section and all that stuff, but it's shrink. It's got the plastic wrap on it, so the kids can't just sit there and flip through it.
Because that always stops a kid who's sitting there in an aisle with their parents are like, "Look, I need to go buy some fucking milk, and when you're not looking, my cigarette. So can you just sit here and read?"
Sell cigarettes, by the way.
I know they don't. That's what I'm saying. Is the parents leave? You can you just sit here and read and give mommy a fucking break for 10 minutes? And then the kid's like, "Sure, I can read." "Oh, what's this thing over here that's all wrapped up like I'm not supposed to see it? I desperately need to see it now." Fortunately, plastic is very easy to get through.
Okay. I hate to poke holes in your analogy here, but
no, they're poking holes through the fucking cover of the
No, not the kids, because at least in my Target and the Targets that I've been in, there's this section that's right next to where the books and movies are at.
Tell me it's the restrooms.
No, that's at the other end of the store. But I get plenty of people asking. But it's called the electronics department, where they have all the Bluetooth speakers that you can sit there and press a button and you can hear, 30 seconds of an Ed Sheeran song, or I don't even know who the hell. This is where I break out the old man, because I don't have half the clue of what the songs are playing on there. Or then they go a little further and there's a Nintendo Switch Live demo. So why would they go to those books and read and expand their imagination when they can go over here and just push all the buttons and piss off the people who are in the electronics department?
Well, because it depends on the person. Certainly I like electronics, and I liked electronics as a kid, but I also loved reading. I loved comics. You're going to find the person who is like, "I'm here to start shit," or there's the other kid who's like, "I'm here because I'm stuck here, but oh, cool, I like to read. I want to pick this thing up." You can't sell something to somebody who doesn't want it. But it's putting it there for the audience and making it for the audience, and not fucking putting mature reader shit where kids should be.
Well, it's okay. So with how it's set up, it is on a top shelf, but whatever. That's not the point I was trying to make.
Top shelf is a completely different publisher. I think you got that wrong.
Yeah. Okay. What I was trying to ask is, are graphic novels published through Diamond, or is it a different?
Distributed through Diamond, you mean?
Are they distributed through Diamond? Yeah.
Odds are that they will be distributed through Diamond. It doesn't mean that Diamond has to be the only distributor, but it sounds like they already have distribution set up if they're getting other DC material in the stores now. What happened to the newsstand market is that Newsstands used to be the very popular distribution. That was kind of like everybody would have comics. That's why my 7-Eleven had them. That's why your drugstores, Safeways, all that stuff would have them. The party stores all had the spinner rack, and it wasn't like an exact thing. Like I would go in, and sometimes a title would just not show up one month, and I'd be like, well, but where's my X-Men? And I have to go and search for it at another couple stores, because it wasn't like a collector's market; it was a reader's market. But the thing with newsstand distribution, one, the paper was very cheap, but all comics were at that point. We didn't get to prestige comics until later on. It was disposable income stuff. Like when I was buying comics as a kid, they were 35 cents. And then they very quickly went up. But newsstand distributors were kind of like booksellers in that when you hit the end of life, you could return the product. But you didn't return the whole product. You tore off the cover and sent the cover back in to get credit. And then you were supposed to destroy the comics that you had. It was supposed to save you on the shipping as the small store versus the distributorship, but it was a loss for these companies. Like, oh yeah, we sent out 1.5 million comics, but we got back 500,000 covers. So that means they didn't sell, and so we have to refund that money for them. In which cases, a lot of times they would still, like, you go into a secondhand shop and find all the comics without the front covers on them. Sold at a complete discount, but it still meant that someone made money along the way that they shouldn't have. And bookstores did that too. So with the distribution system for comic shops through Diamond, Capital City was another one. There were a few, Heroes World. They didn't have that returnability. And so it became, you had to order the stuff for your store and be pretty accurate on what you were getting, that it was going to sell through. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with product. Now, at the point in time when comics kept going up and up and up in price for them being out for a while, the collectability market, that was fine. It's like, oh, I can't sell X-Men 163, all the copies I got right now. But in 2 years, suddenly X-Men 163 is worth $5 as opposed to the 80 cents that it was when I got it at cover price. Like, people spend more for it now, and they'll get the bag and board, and the collector's market made it work. When the collector's market crashed, distribution had already changed because we got rid of all the competition for distribution. So Diamond didn't give a shit. And the retailers just like, well, like, I can't sell these 1,000 copies of Spawn #1 that I have. They're just sitting here in fucking boxes, taking up space. So they cost me in both, like, the room that I have to bring in other comics, and I put money into them that they're fucking worthless. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so it put all the onus on the retailer.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong, because the returnability, that's a big cost to companies like Marvel that used to sell 1 million issues of a comic and now are lucky to sell in the 20 or 30,000 of a comic. But it is when it comes to this new stuff, if they're going to try to go for a different market, a different audience, the rules are going to have to be looked at. They're going to have to be a little bit more flexible, I think. Also, the big thing of this is that I think all of these things have to come out digitally at the same time. These graphic novels are going to have to come out as a digital brand, because that's where you're going to get more eyeballs in it, as long as they know to look for it. It's still my problem with digital is that who's advertising the stuff? Like, how are you selling to people who have no idea to go look for these comics online? No, yeah, definitely.
And I posted in there because, I just did a search for comics on Target.com. There's a lot in there, like enough. And I was hoping that one of them, if I clicked on there, it would say the vendor, because that's one of the things that I can look at when I scan an item. Which, if I happen to see a book, I might actually do it, because I think it might be through another book, like a separate book vendor who sends us all of our books, and not just just comic books or anything like that. But it's, I don't know, it's weird. I love this idea because, and I honestly, I wish Marvel would do the same thing,
And Marvel may, but Marvel Marvel's under new leadership right now.
Yeah.
They've got a new editor-in-chief person in place. A lot of changes are just now starting to leak out, and I believe that is something that they will probably be looking at, and I believe also that it's something that Disney is going to expect them to look at, and that may be why the editor-in-chief that was there for the last 10 years is not there anymore.
Yeah,
it's because they need to make these changes, and that wasn't the right person to go with this new direction.
Yeah. Now, real quick, and I do mean real quick, because this is a perfect segue to our other two stories that we got here. Because Disney actually still has licensed out their other characters to IDW and a few other publishers. Do you think that this is something that they would, that once they would almost do a test like the DC, like the Marvel equivalent of DC Zoom and DC Inc., where it's just the Marvel characters before they then go, okay, the Disney comics are coming back to Marvel?
Since they're just now announcing some of the Disney characters that they're licensing out to people, I just don't know that Marvel has the talent to focus on these types of books right now. They haven't harvested that kind of talent, whereas other companies have the ability to do that. If you look at a Boom, you look at the books that Boom's putting out, they are the right kind of people to do those kinds of books. They were doing them before, and that's kind of what led to them getting to the other stuff they're doing now. Dark Horse is a little more interesting because I haven't seen that kind of stuff come out from Dark Horse other than Little Hellboy by Art and Franco. But again, because Dark Horse is a smaller company that can focus in on things a little bit better, and because they're a great company to work for, I've heard so many creators love working for Dark Horse over time, they can put in on it. Marvel's struggles right now are making Marvel comics sell.
Yeah.
I think that is the right move for them, is to understand what's been going wrong in their sales and how to course correct, because they do have incredibly popular characters. 15 years ago, I wouldn't have said that I would be too worried that Iron Man wasn't a number one selling book, that Captain America or Avengers weren't number one selling books. But now, with 10 years of these films and the popularity and the name recognition, why are those titles struggling so badly? Yeah. Why are X-Men titles struggling so badly when X-Men was the biggest cash cow, not just at Marvel, but anywhere, for 20-something years? To see this happening, there is a lot fundamentally wrong with Marvel's creative output currently. And I don't say that to piss on any creators. It's just that the directions that the whole company has chosen to go in for their publishing seems to have landed them in a tough spot. One that I'm sure that they can get back from, but that's where they need to concentrate on. So I think licensing these things out instead of trying to create a new section of Marvel to do them, that's just spreading themselves too thin at this point in time. Maybe someday, but I agree with you. Those properties need to exist because it's just leaving money on the table, and it's leaving properties to stagnate so that they go out of the public eye, and you have to fight to get them to come back and be relevant again. One thing that I know a lot of people aren't happy with the new direction of the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon that they've announced, with all the turtles being different types of turtles, and animation is very different. But TMNT has reinvented itself every couple of years since it got its first cartoon, since it's got its first movie. Once it hit the mainstream, it did everything it could to keep in the mainstream in one form or another. Staying in the public eye is huge. It may not always be the most popular. It may go through phases where it disappears for a year or two, but then they come back and they do some Bay-esque shit films. But people saw them. They may not have loved them. They may not have been as popular as they expected, but they got a sequel. Those things, they've been announcing all week that the first movie is going to be on Nickelodeon tonight. It's a special Nickelodeon event. Like, I don't know how fucking special it is. It's from 5 years ago, and nobody wanted to see it then. But sure, you go, Nick. But people still are talking about TMNT in one way or another, or recognize the property. You compare that to a Darkwing Duck or a Rescue Rangers, or even a Muppets. The Muppets tried to give it another go in the last couple of years. They had the one movie come out, and then they had the sequel come out, and I didn't hear much about the sequel. And they had the TV show, and the TV show didn't quite work. Again, maybe because they aimed it towards adults more than they did kids. I feel like Muppets is one of those things like Warner Brothers cartoons where it needs to walk the line and be for both. You just have to know how to handle that kind of writing. TMNT, I think, has managed to maintain a semblance of recognition that Disney and Marvel could learn from. You have to kind of look at giving these properties the best opportunities that you can. And sometimes you say in-house is the best place for this. And sometimes you say in-house is definitely the wrong place for this. And you lend it out to someplace else. I feel like if I'm at a power level of Disney, my thought process would be do this in-house as much as possible because we keep control. Mm-hmm. Relinquishing control is tough because someone else might not give things the same care. They might make decisions that you always have to look over their shoulders. And if I'm looking over your shoulders all the goddamn time, one, I'm splitting off the profits to share with you. And two, I'm doing the work sort of anyways, because I always have to look at your work. At the same time, though, like, I really need my focus over here right now. So can you just fucking juggle this for a little while for me? Just keep people talking about it. Like, maybe not loudly, but just knowing that it's still there, that we still give a fuck about these properties, so that when I'm stable on this side and I can deal with that over there, I can come back and either nudge you in the direction that I want you, or just pick it up and take it back over here because I'm ready for it, and make it right. It's the other thing with the Marvel stuff in particular is that we got really spoiled with the shared universe. And so you want all the stuff to be shared universe, and that may be the right direction, maybe the wrong direction. But it's hard to argue with the results that Marvel films have had versus Marvel at other companies.
To get to the articles, the other two articles that I wanted to mention here, Disney has unveiled their streaming service launch slate. Now, here's the interesting part. I think a lot of this is going to bank on the Disney Fox merger, because they're talking about doing 5 to 7 original movies or original products a year on there. The Netflix shows, so Daredevil, all the Defenders stuff and Punisher stays over there. Everything that's rated R will go to Hulu and all that, because they still get money out of that.
Is Hulu doing a lot of R-rated content right now?
Hulu has the movies. They have R-rated movies on there and all that. So I mean, it's
I since I don't subscribe to Hulu, I still see Hulu as the landing spot for TV shows. Mm-hmm. that were from regular TV stations and stuff. They just go over to Hulu, and then shows that feel like they kind of also could be on regular TV. So I haven't seen Hulu in this kind of more mature material yet. But if you say so, then absolutely that makes more sense.
Not to correct. First one that I found, a movie from earlier this year called The Hero, starring Sam Elliott as as an aging actor confronting mortality in The Hero, a beautifully poignant celebration of life and the legacies we leave behind. Also starring Laura Prepon, and all that. That's right there on the Hulu's homepage. That was the first R-rated movie that I've seen on here.
Okay.
And not so. I mean, it's not like it's out of it because I mean they have a bunch of movies on here. The other thing I would see them doing is on the Disney side is pulling movies, theoretically pulling movies or focusing them more on their streaming service because on here it's just under the list of popular movies. You got George of the Jungle, Disney's The Black Cauldron, First Kid. I wanted to say that princess movie was one, but it's not like a Disney movie. Where it's like there's a few movies here that could be pulled. Disney's The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Disney's Airbud, all these can be pulled onto their streaming service. The other side of this, though, on the flip is because they're already talking about working on some projects for here. One of which is a Star Wars live action TV series done by David Benioff and DB Weiss, who are the creators of and showrunners of Game of Thrones. Well, not creators of the franchise, showrunners of Game of Thrones. And the article said who they were teaming with, and it was another big monster get with that as well.
If it's from the showrunners of Game of Thrones, is this the story of if slavery was never made illegal in the Star Wars universe?
No,
because wasn't that the next thing that they were working on for HBO? Is
yes.
this alternate history?
Yes, like the article says, their final season of Game of Thrones is set to air in 2019, and while Benioff and Weiss planned to move on to their alternate history show Confederate, it wouldn't be surprised if the controversy put the project down for the count and opened the doors to a Star Wars trilogy. I look at this honestly as this is smart planning, smart thinking. Because I mean, Disney has a lot of stuff that they could be doing for original movies and hopefully bring up the quality that you get from the Disney Channel original movies. Now, keep in mind, I grew up on the Disney Channel original movies. Xenon, Girl of the 21st century or 22nd century, Xenon the sequel, going so far back.
You can say Cheetah Girls, we know.
Well, no, Cheetah Girls came a little bit later. I'm talking about the older stuff. Brink, which was, that was my jam. Smart House. But now you get into like Cheetah Girls sort of started it with, and the High School Musical really kicked it off with the being more musical focused. And this is where it seemed to me like they skewed a little bit more girl centric than for everyone. Because even the new movie they have, it's called Zombies. It's coming out this year. Interesting take on the whole zombie thing. Basically, it's like a chemical reaction thing happened, and now all the zombies wear these bands that are that shock them if they start thinking about brains, and it makes them not want to eat brains and all that stuff. And then it's a little bit West Side Story and stuff like that.
So it's zombie conversion therapy?
Not exactly.
Are you going to pray the dead away? I mean, it's just
no.
Like, there's a way to go with this story that could be really, really fun to explore.
Yeah. But I mean, in all honesty, though, I mean, with this developing, with this stuff here, it sounds like they do have a plan for what a lot of people were worried about when it comes to the, how things are going to be working. Because of the fact that they would then if again hitting back on the Fox merger thing, if they do this, they now own 60% I think of Fox or not Fox of Hulu, and so it's like it's basically saying, hey, we're not going to just be like, this is our service now, you guys get out or up the price. It's going to be, we're still going to put content on here, and it's going to be content that the parents are going to want to watch, or the college kids are going to want to watch more, rather than the the kids or the like the middle schoolers and high schoolers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and absolutely. If you're a company that isn't Disney owned, but you've got content on Hulu, say like NBC or ABC or whatever. Well, ABC is Disney. Sorry, CBS or whoever. And you're part of Hulu already, having shows like a Star Wars live action series is good for you because it means people are going to subscribe to that service and then have the ability to discover your stuff. What's that?
That's not going to be on Hulu.
Well, here's my problem already.
Yeah.
If you're going with the creators of Game of Thrones and you're pitching it as these are the guys who do Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
do you think that's going to go on the Disney side or is that going to go on the Hulu side? And here's my other issue before we go too far. This is my second part of it, which is what I have always wanted from Star Wars, after the original trilogy, has been an expanded universe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we got the prequels, I was disappointed because it was still the Skywalker shit. And with the new trilogy, I don't need it to be the original characters anymore. I'm more interested in the new characters. But we're getting stuff like the prequel to Episode 4 with Rogue One. We're getting the Han Solo movie that apparently nobody thinks Disney actually wants us to see. But for me, I want more of the Star Wars universe to explore. But what I don't necessarily want is a different tone. I liked the original trilogy's tone. I liked what that felt like, and it was appealing to me as a kid, and it appeals to me as an adult. So the idea of and I'm not saying this is actually what they're doing, because just because you do one show and you do it really well doesn't mean that's the only thing you're capable of. But I don't want a Game of Thrones Star Wars, as a for instance. And again, I'm not saying that's what they're planning to do. That's like saying the guy who made Pushing Daisies can only ever make more Pushing Daisies and can't do things like American Gods or Hannibal or whatever. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. And here's sort of going to be the counter to it. Because this is from the article that Bob Iger, because this was during a conference call, he stated that he offered some updates on the new project from them, explaining that Lucasfilm has been in talks with the filmmakers for some time, and despite their credentials as creators of one of the most successful TV shows of all time, they never had an interest in creating a Star Wars TV series for the platform. No, they're focused on a point in time, this is a quote from him, on a point in time in the Star Wars mythology. So, what a lot of people have been hearing about, and is something that would work for the more family-friendly app, the streaming service side of things, and not necessarily the have to go the R-rated, let's throw this on Hulu, would be a Knights of the Old Republic. You still have you still have all the action and the fighting and stuff, but it's not going to be Deadpool, or not Deadpool, Daredevil or Punisher, levels of violence in there, or even Game of Thrones level of violence, because they've basically proved that they can do this type of story here. They just happen to put it in, put in nudity and a lot of swearing and stuff, and it's called Game of Thrones.
And honestly, that it seems like anytime a show shows up on a cable premium channel like HBO or Showtime or Stars, it's almost an automatic of they have to have that stuff for some reason. Every show, it's like, and here's your first sex scene of these actors. It's just so edgy. I don't understand why that's all the programs is like. Well, it's on HBO, so boobs away. I don't abhor it. Of course, it's just it seems like that's all that's ever done to separate it from being on regular TV, and then they fucking sell reruns of Sopranos to regular TV, and they have to hack the shit out of it. My point of the Star Wars thing was, again, that they're not incapable of making a show that can be more all age, or at least PG instead of R-rated. but what I was also going to say is that between Star Wars and especially with the Marvel stuff, is that if I'm the Marvel watcher, which I sort of am, do I want to now have to go through 2 different services to get all of my Marvel content? With cable, I have kids channels. I have not all age channels, but channels that have content for different age groups, and then I have channels that lean more towards mature content. When the kids are up, they can throw on Snick, Nickelodeon, Toon Disney, Cartoon Network, all that stuff. But even Cartoon Network gets to the point of day where they go from being the kids' cartoons to Adult Swim. When the kids are at school, I can watch my fucking Ellen and General Hospital and stuff. When they come back home, we put on content that's for both of us. The reruns of Big Bang Theory that aren't too fucking racy, or Simpsons or Bob's Burgers or whatever. And then when they go to bed, that's when I can flip over to FX and put on stuff that is more for me, and they can watch it on their tablets. In this imaginary scenario where I have kids and they aren't little fuckers who are pirating off the neighbor's Wi-Fi and watching porn themselves like I would have done when I was their age. We raise them just like ourselves, man. It's just a fucking test of your patience to what your parents had to go through.
Yeah. My mom had to go through.
Right.
Much like us. Yeah. I'm not. But no. Anyways. I was going to say, are you sure this is you with hypothetical kids and not Aaron possessing you, saying how you are,
dude,
and all that?
The amount of shit that I walk into my wife watching and just like, like I like have relegated myself to the other room many a time because I'm just like not in the mood to watch your fucking Human Centipede one more goddamn time, or anything by Stanley Kubrick.
You just substitute Ellen with Human Centipede.
General. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is do Human Centipede with the Muppets, and there's just a guy with one long arm. My point is that why are these services treated like they're single stations as opposed to doing something like what YouTube does, where it brings a bunch of stations in, or PlayStation, or all these things that are like the new cable? Why isn't Disney like giving you a kids channel, a family time channel, a mature channel, and all that stuff? If they've got all this content, so that I can pay the $30 a month to get everything, as opposed to piddly shitting out for one service or another, that is where I think this stuff would wind up going. Because again, if I'm Disney and I own all of these different things, doesn't it behoove me to have them be under one umbrella? Doesn't it make sense to me to have me control it and not have to share it with the other 40% that gets Hulu or the Netflix or whatever? That's my question. Now, I don't think that's immediate, but I think long term, that's probably where things would go. Is that in the future, every restaurant is Taco Bell, and they still can't make a fucking Doritos Locos Taco that doesn't break apart before you even get bites out of it.
Now, here's my answer to that.
Is it shitting with 3 seashells? Because I still don't know how that works.
They already have that whole thing. It's called cable.
But they don't own the cable company yet.
They don't. But do they need to own the cable company? Because because they get the money from all these, because you're talking about it's not too much more, because it's skews in the young adults area. But Freeform, that's the older kids. That's the that in there. A&E, they have stake in. You got your Disney Channel, your Disney XD, Disney Junior for the kids.
But in the cable company, you still don't get all of the control or all of the benefits, all of the profits. So when they're already leaning into taking some of our balls, not all of our, I'm not taking my ball and going home, but you're going to play in the the field with the not nice new equipment, and over here we're gonna have the good. This is the rich neighborhood ball field, and over there that's the wrong side of the tracks, pretty in pink side of the neighborhood.
So hold on. That was the first part of why they're not going, just putting everything in Hulu and all that. The other part is they're not trying to compete with cable. They're trying to compete. They're trying to compete with Netflix. This whole streaming service is not a thing for, oh, we're going to be the cable replacement like Hulu with their live TV is, or Sling TV, or PlayStation View, or DirecTV Now, or anything like that. It's
but anytime a company says that we're not competing with this thing over here, it's not because they're not going to compete with that thing over there. It's that at this point in time, we're taking down this motherfucker. But all you other motherfuckers better recognize when this shit is done, you bitches better worship the ground that I walk in. Fucking show enough, the Shogun of Harlem, I am going to kick your ass. Kiss my Converse, motherfucker. That is the point, is if they can take down a Netflix, because right now Netflix is the brand. Netflix is the name. That is the thing that everybody else is kind of pissing themselves and trying to rise up to meet.
Yeah.
If Disney competes with Netflix and can beat them at this game, at this very new game, then the next thing will be, well, why would we want to deal with Comcast and DirecTV and competitors? Because all of those things are competitors. Comcast owns content. Comcast isn't just a way to get content to you. Comcast makes content to get people to stay there. Now, some of their content, again, goes to Hulu, goes to other places and stuff. But realistically, Comcast would love to just get all your shit from Comcast. And eventually, if that worked, if they got used to everybody getting all their shit from Comcast, then they would say, now you're just going to get Comcast shit. It's like when you go into the grocery store and they've got the name brands and they've got the grocery store brands. And it's like, yeah, I like my brand, but if I can save 50 cents to $1 to a couple of bucks with the store brand and it's almost as good, then I just buy the store brand. And then eventually the big name brand goes away because the store brand is good enough. And then you're just fucking part of the whole system of like the Meijer or the Safeway, the Walmart. It's like you're just in. And so you don't have a competitor. At some point, like we talk about Apple buying a telephone service, or Google buying like T-Mobile or something, or Apple buying Netflix, or Disney buying Apple. Like at some point, it gets to be the point of like, why do I want to deal with other people's crap? Why can't I just do all this myself? And when you have these giant corporations, it gets more and more likely that they can do that.
Yeah.
If Disney decides, hey, we can buy a Comcast, we can buy them, and then we can give people broadband, a pipe that goes right to us, and we don't have to worry about net neutrality, or you're Amazon and you're like, I'm going to create our own company's healthcare system for our employees. So we don't have to deal with whether or not the healthcare system for the rest of the country does what it's supposed to. You work for us, you get the healthcare that we provide, and we meet your needs so people will want to work here. And we don't have to deal with government regulation. We don't have to deal with overpriced pills because we can negotiate. That's the thing, is that when it goes down the line, you always got to look at what the end game is. Now, it's a long time away, and a lot of things can happen in between here and there, and Solo could bomb, and then Disney could do another fucking John Carter of Mars movie, and just for laughs. There's a lot of things that could break this, but I do think that when I look at what the end user wants is just access to the content. Mm-hmm. The easiest, preferably cheapest, but best experience that they can get. Give me the greatest amount of content for the most reasonable amount of money, and I'll be happy to continue being a customer. The reason why cable and all these things are struggling now is because they gave us shit for a long time, stuff that we didn't want that we had to pay for, and the stuff that we wanted we had to fight for or pay extra for. It was just kind of like it was a broken system based from the consumer end. When you get rid of that middleman, because Disney just wants people to be in the Disney house, just watch our shit, buy our shit, go to our shit parks, take a shit in our shit parks. We've got a robot that will come and clean it up, and it looks just like it came out of fucking Toy Story. Have fun, man. Like, love us, love me. Then all of those middlemen become less and less ideal to work with, and I think that when it's like, oh, well, I already am not digging the experience that to see episodes of Justified, I have to get an Amazon Prime subscription, or if I want to see this Future Man show, I have to get a Hulu subscription, and if I want to keep watching my Jessica Jones series, I have to have a Netflix subscription. I'm already chasing content that way. And while I'm accepting of it right now, at some point it's going to go overboard. Like, I'm no fucking way can I see a moment this year where I'm getting a CBS membership because Star Trek Discovery didn't do it for me. And I haven't heard fuck all about what the follow-up is after Star Trek Discovery to make me feel enticed to look at their service to begin with. It's like you put a lot of eggs in this Star Trek Discovery basket, and for me it didn't work, but you haven't then said, by the way, here's the next thing. Here's the thing that's like, that was really compelling for some people, and yeah, maybe didn't fly for everybody, but here's what's up next. They haven't said it yet. That's worrisome. Mm-hmm. It's like the Sony PlayStation thing with Powers. It's like, oh, Powers, that's really interesting. What comes next? Hopefully more Powers someday, maybe. Nope, didn't happen. Nope, good luck. Sorry. You can go from a like talked about buzz thing to nothing really quick. If people are already in the Hulu sphere, that's great. That's perfectly cool for Disney. If people are like, oh, and then I want to check out this Disney thing over here too. But then it becomes like, well, do I need 2 subscriptions? And I want to keep Netflix because Netflix has the other or Marvel stuff that I like as well, the shows that I'm already watching and I'm into. So that's now 3 things that I have to jump around hoops for. It's like at some point it makes sense to say no more hoops. They don't have to have them, so why would they? That's what I feel. The Star Trek thing or the Star Wars thing. I mean, back to that. What I was saying about I like the tone of the original Star Wars movies, and I want more of that tone, but in an expanded universe. That's the same sort of deal. As if they do Star Wars stuff, if they ever do Star Wars stuff that is adult themed, that's probably not for me. Much in the way that Beat talks about Star Trek Discovery, is that it doesn't feel like Star Trek to him, and I get where he's coming from with it. I haven't watched it beyond the first half of the first episode or whatever. But I'm just like, that's not what I want tonally from Star Trek, but I can see something coming out that's like Star Trek that is that tone, and it would be much more appealing to me because I don't have this thing in my head of what Star Trek is to kind of like get in my way of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I look at this like where, yeah, okay, we need to be aware of their end game. End games change. There was a time when Marvel was going to release Inhumans as a movie. Their end game was to include the Inhumans, in one of the Avengers movies. With Infinity War was going to be a 2-part movie. Those things change. End games change. That's where I honestly look at this. I don't look at it as them eventually going and competing with cable companies, because I think part of their end game is the cable companies are going to die out. It's all going to go to streaming.
Well, yeah, but the cable companies right now are still in charge of how you get that content. And that's what I mean, is not dealing with cable companies for like, oh, your cable TV is going to air our shows. I mean, hey, Comcast, we're going to buy out your broadband.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's and this is if we can get Edgy Pie listening to this would be amazing. But this is where I honest to God feel like it's more of a thing of we need to get the pipes in order and the series of tubes that makes up the internet here in America and around the world in order to where you don't have to be worried that the people that Comcast, because that is my basically the only choice I have for internet. I mean, actually, no, I could do AT&T as well, but then that's going to be significantly slower. I did a speed test earlier today because we were talking about, because the other thing that I didn't mention at the top of the show was I got a new computer working. I got the new that my friend gave me, so we might be moving up production wise here. And so we see, like with this here, with on the side, it's I don't want to have to worry about what fit. Like right now, I get 55, almost 55 megs down, and then almost 12 up for my speeds. That's not bad for Comcast, especially with what they're, I think I'm paying for that amount. Like I don't really think there's like, oh, they're promising up to, blah blah blah, or whatnot. AT&T, it's going to be a more consistent. Like I think it would probably be like 8 up, but then it'd be about like 12 or 14 down, and all that stuff, or something like that, depending on which one ever I got. And but it's like there's other places, like I know up north, it's Spectrum. It's you go all the way around, and that's the problem I have. That's where I would, if I were president or if I had the power, I would make it to where there's none of these local monopolies. It's you want this company, boom, you get that company. You want to switch from them to, actually bring true competition, not this. Well, you're in my territory now, boy. Stuff that we got going on.
It's the last mile thing. It's the paying for the last mile so that you get the service that you want, but all the infrastructure is shared. Yep. But the problem is that several companies have a monopoly on this stuff because of past mistakes that the government allowed them to take when they broke up the phone companies. They allowed them to create this whole new broadband structure and gave them effective duopoly or monopoly, depending on how you look at it. But that's exactly the point, is that if you see a company like Google struggle to get fiber rolled out, maybe they lost interest a little bit because of the net neutrality thing happening, and then maybe they'll gain interest in it again because of it. There's only so many companies that could work with this to get rid of that problem for themselves. Disney's one, Apple's one, Google maybe one, Amazon is probably one, that they could say, okay, well, I can't go and create a whole new broadband infrastructure. I might be able to do this whole new wirelessly thing, or I could buy one of the companies that has part of the monopoly.
Yeah.
And if I buy that company, then I can make the rules as to what I consider net neutrality, because that's legal now, and get all my content to people directly through that. Or if Google buys one and Apple buys one and Disney buys one, if they're not already buying Apple, then they can kind of work out themselves how they would allow people to get content. And maybe they do a better job. Maybe they do a worse job.
Yeah.
It's still a couple of companies that have all the cards. That's funny. Netflix that can kind of decide how it's going to go. And it's unfortunate, The problem is each of these things get bigger and bigger, and you have to worry. You have to worry, because if I really just want you to see my content and no one's stopping me from making that the case, then that's just how it is. It's your local business closing down because Best Buy moved in or Walmart moved in or whatever.
Hey, Corey, you want to know what would stop us from making our content?
Not having supporters on Patreon.
We keep doing this, we keep the lights on. We, and you can do it. You can help us out, help us keep the lights on. You could donate as much as you want, but go to patreon.com/galacticnetcasts, and that's where you can pledge to us. You can pledge as much or as little as you want. And this has honestly got me thinking about doing one myself for, more, but as more money I get, more money goes out, or more product goes out. That's what we want to do. We all want to do this stuff. I would love to do a comic book show. It's just time, because I got to work, and the fact that comic books cost money. So it's like,
and also, I mean, especially on the time thing, Gregor already shows up to this, and I stretch a half-hour show into 5 hours.
Yeah. And there's the fact that I would love to do a wrestling show. And you guys could eventually help us out by supporting us. Get on the ground floor here. Patreon.com/galacticnetcasts. All right, it is time for the ElseViews. This is the portion of the show where I talk about a stand-up comedian I watched and really enjoyed his show. It's on Netflix. And Corey possibly talks about something because he loves to surprise me with whatever it is that he's watching. But so Corey can get his little vocal rest since he's talked a lot in the news. I'm gonna talk about Kavin J. He's a Malaysian, yes, a Malaysian comedian.
Does that mean he's from where Beatmaster lives?
And I'm expecting an ASCII middle finger in our chat anytime now. But he has a Netflix special called Everyone Calm Down. This was filmed in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. Actually, I think it was in Kuala Lumpur. But it was really cool. Like it's one of these shows that it's all in English. Like there's a little bit of where he uses local words, but the cool thing is when he does speak in I want to say it's Malay, they subtitle it, so it's you're not missing out. But like some of the things that he talks about, I'm like, I relate to it. I've never been over there. Like they start talking about because his parents are from, one of the things he talks about is because his parents are from India. Everyone, like, he talks about stereotypes and how the stereotypes are this is quoting him, so it's not racist, I swear. But the he goes durka 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 durka, hello, welcome to 7-Eleven. Like how everyone sees it, but then here it's durka 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 durka, I stab you. And I'm like, that's funny. That is really good. He has this brilliant way of looking at stuff. And he's a big dude. So and okay, I love how Growly is pointing out that I said the words right. I know how to say words. He's like, Gregor said it right. Malaysian. And he said it, Gregor said it right again, right. Kuala Lumpur. I didn't know if that was where he did the special. But the dude is funny. And God, I wish I remember what his shirt said. It was like, keep calm and listen to the tattooed fat guy or tattooed chubby guy. Dude's hilarious, like across the board. And every time someone would do like like when he says something like mildly offensive, he'd be like, thus the title of the show, Everyone Calm Down, it's just jokes. And not talked about as something I wouldn't know about because I'm a little younger than you. This is where I make you feel old. He talks about the first time watching porn. And this is back in the VHS days with the tape and all that stuff. So he talks about his parents are out of town, or out to work, and he skipped school, and so he's getting ready to put it in, and then he hears his mom walking in, so he's hurrying, trying to eject the tape, but it takes a while. And then she goes, "What are you doing here?" And he says, like, he's watching the news, and she goes, "Where are your pants?" And then he goes, "Oh, I don't know," and he goes away or whatever. She goes to watch a thing she recorded. It's his tape. And so she then goes, "I'm going to tell your father." And he lies to his father, so they have the whole family, including I think one of their grandmas, watching this. I think he said it was a horror movie. It was like it was a movie called like Sorority Sister or Sorority Sluts 7 or something like that. You know, it had one of those porn titles. They're watching this whole thing. I'm like, okay, this has to be exaggeration. This cannot be true. That you go through this whole thing watching, like the parents watching it, and the mom just ashamed, and dad's like, "Shut up! I want to see the murder or whatever." But he's really funny. It's one of those, like, I'm surprised I haven't heard of him before, and like I was looking at his Wikipedia page to see, you know, if he's done anything else, and I mean he's doing a lot for Malaysia in the stand-up comedy realm. You know, a lot like what I would attribute Trevor Noah for doing for South Africa. This is what he's doing for Malaysia. You know, like bringing comedy there to where it's not just the you know, like the big or Western people, you know, like the comedians from America or England or anything like that, but it's homegrown talent and stuff like that. But yeah, he's really cool. Check him out. It's on Netflix. It's
also, I like what you're saying about him using words from his language and his culture, and them explaining what the words were with the subtitles, because that is what helps us understand other cultures better.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when Spanish language music started mixing with American pop music years ago, and built up more and more, and you get that kind of like crossover of you'll hear some English lines, then you hear some Spanish lines, and it'll go back and forth, and it allows people to find that medium together to accomplish, to realize that, you know, we can enjoy the same things, we can have the same feelings and values and stuff, even though we would think that we might have a hard time understanding each other. It's like, no, it's really easy to understand each other, and this breaks down those walls, which comedy itself is already great at. But to do that extra step of like, and I'm going to say these words, and you know, you'll pick up those words, that to me is really cool. George Lopez did a lot of that with his stuff. Like he would talk as his family members and stuff and say things, and it's like it made it a little bit like, it's, yes, in some ways it's stereotypes because you're talking about characterizations of his family and stuff, but it allows you to pick up and go, okay, yeah. And when I see that in someone who's obviously, you know, the same comes from the same region and stuff, I can get it a little bit more, and I can relate to them a little bit more because I've seen these things, and it's no different than like picking on your friends who have some sort of local dialect, either from the South or, you know, certain areas of Michigan, you know, we're from, or areas of California where I live now. It all that stuff kind of like adds up. It's like, oh yeah, the differences are kind of precious in a way, as long as we realize that they're just cosmetic and they don't mean that we're really different as people.
Yeah, I want to say that the big reason why his show was in English though was because he had and first off, he does this he does a thing which it's better than the, hey, where are you from, you know, clap if you're from here. It's the, or no, it's the, you know, make some noise if you're from here or whatever. It's the do we have anyone from you know, from here, and like someone said Australia, and like, oh, sorry, you know, I know nothing of Australia. Like just boom, shoots it down. But and then he I think the reason why they did it in English was because I don't think it was in Malaysia. I want to say it was in like Singapore or something. It was in like a neighboring country and stuff like that. And so it was like, you know, the common language is going to be English, as you know, since they have two different languages and stuff like that. But and then there was another little great, I'm gonna put it right up there with Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr does some great slams, but these are more at him asking people to do these. He goes, anyone from America? And the guy goes, yeah. And they're like, where are you from? New York. I have no idea where that's at. like in that pattern. I'm like, clever, really good, because whenever we say like, hey, where are you from, you're like, blah 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 blah. Oh, I have no idea where that's at. It's like, well, why'd you ask me that, asshole? Sort of deal. But no, yeah, it's really good. I again highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix worldwide. If we got it here in England, in America, then you probably get it wherever Netflix is available. So Corey, you got anything you want to share with us?
Dude, I have a couple of different things I can go with. So I can go with the new sitcom. I can go with the just released to Netflix movie, or I can go with the reality show. So pick one.
Well, I know what the Netflix movie is, and I want to watch it myself. So I'm gonna say hold on to that one, because we'll do that next week. The sitcom, which one would that? I don't know what that one would be. Let's do the sitcom.
All right. So I've been looking forward to this. Wasn't really sure how I was going to feel about it, because it's kind of breaking one thing possibly to make a new thing, and it's already sort of happened before. So on NBC this last week, yes, they introduced us to AP Bio. Now I've been watching the revival of Will and Grace with my wife. It's been pretty good. It feels a little weird, and maybe it's been a while since I've watched reruns of the original Will and Grace series. It seems like they're going extra silly on the new series, but maybe that was actually already the case. I don't know. But AP Bio, we know, has Dennis from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Glenn Howerton, who is terrific, but kind of plays a Dennis type character in this new show. At the same time, over on Fox, we've got the Mick with Sweet D from Always Sunny. And she is sort of playing Sweet D on this new show, just in different situations. So it takes a little bit of the specialness away from the characters from Always Sunny, which is a show that I absolutely love. And it's been on for a long time and is very long spots in between seasons. And also there's some concern that if AP Bio takes off, that Glenn Howerton might not wind up back in Always Sunny. And that's concerning, because you don't want to see the show without these characters who've been a part of it. In his case, from the very beginning, one of the co-creators of the show. But I really liked AP Bio. So in AP Bio, he's playing a philosophy professor who basically pissed off the school that he worked at, lost his tenure right as he was about to get it, went just totally fucking nuts, has someone that he hates that is one of his peers and wants to destroy his life, goes back to live in his hometown in his mom's apartment that she died in, and is like, just hates everything about what the state of his life is. So his goal is to break his nemesis, to sleep with his high school girlfriend again, who he goes on a date with and finds out that she has a boyfriend, and to not teach the biology class that he's supposed to be teaching biology. He instead wants to teach them philosophy, but realistically, he wants to use them in his nefarious plans. It's got Patton Oswalt is the principal of the school, who seems just kind of like, how do I deal with this? Kind of like the principal in that that show with the kid in the wheelchair in the family. What is that called? Speechless. Yes. The principal in that just always seems ineffective. Or the principals in the Goldbergs. Like, they just like, how do I deal with this? Except in this case, he's ineffective against one of his own staff. But it's good. The relationship with the students were all like slowly introduced. We find the emo misunderstood kid who seems a little bit psychotic in the class, and he gets an instant kind of liking to this kid, as all the other kids are like trying to be very zealous in learning about the stuff and want to do well in the class. So every time
he's like, I'm not going to teach you biology. And he starts going off about something else. They pull out their notebooks and start trying to take notes. He's like, no. I'm not teaching you. Put your notebooks away. And they like hesitate. He has them all write catfish emails to the guy that he's trying to destroy his life. So he's like, I want you guys to try to seduce him so that we can completely break his spirit. And so they all write up their versions of what a catfish thing would be. And like the quiet shy girl has like the most awesome one, but it's just so out there. He's like, no, that's a little much. I don't know if that would work. But at the end of the episode, you actually see the guy receive that message and go for it. And you don't know if it's coming from him or if it's coming from the teen girl. And she's just trying to do well in the class.
So real quick, sorry, to
Yes.
give for younger viewers, the girl who plays that you're talking about, her name is Allison Ashley Arm. She's a former Disney Channel star. She was on Demi Lovato's show, or actually the spinoff of the show that she was on, where they did this sketch comedy show. It was sort of like Disney Channel's answer for All That, but instead of using the actual, like where the actors were playing themselves and then they broke into sketches, they were in their characters from the show. She was in there, really funny, but again, she played more the loud character, like, because I mean, you know, it's Disney Channel. I mean, half their acting is just, I'm gonna yell really loud and stuff like that. But yeah, she's when I'm like, I was looking when I was watching this and I'm like, she looks familiar, and I'm looking like, oh, because she's Allison Ashley Arm and all that. But yeah, continue, please.
Yeah. So the show is, I was very taken with it. I liked his attitude. I liked that when he's talking to the 3 women teachers in the teacher's lounge, like they don't just automatically accept his shit. Like he's sitting there and he's just like, oh, I don't give a fuck. This being here is awful. This is the worst thing in the world. And they all just kind of go, yeah, it kind of is. And they just, but they were really funny. So it's not like he's like the smartest person in the room and everybody worships him. He's smart, but he's also like in a pretty bad place and he's just as fucked as anybody else is. And there are people who will call him on it. And I think that that's excellent too. I didn't get to go on because when we watched it, it was already kind of late, but apparently a bunch of the episodes are available on demand right now, even though they've only aired the first episode and they won't start airing the rest of them until after the Olympics are done.
Yeah, the first 3 episodes are available online. And now, so this is where I'm going to get into something pretty interesting myself with this, because I missed it because I had to work. But the next day I had, you know, I didn't have to go until later. So I was watching them and I watched all 3 episodes. I think they might be trying to set this up for failure by fireflying it. Yeah, by fireflying it. Because the episode that they called episode 3 had a character, she's part the school nurse, part the principal secretary. She's, easiest way to describe her would almost be like the female Dwight Schrute, because she's like, you know, she's wanting more power in that regard. Now I don't know if it's just I misread the scene, but in episode 3, it's almost like he's Glenn Howerton's character is meeting her for the first time when she was pivotal to episode 2. And not, so I just don't know if it's him just being, you know, the condescending asshole that he is, or if it was they're airing episodes out of order, like they switched 2 and 3 around, which could be the case as well.
I think NBC's done that more than once as well.
If it's that, I don't know if it could be possibly sort of like, which division do I blame here? Because it could not be Comcast's fault, or not be NBC's fault, but be Comcast's fault, which is still the same people, but you know, separate division or something. I don't know. I watched the 3 episodes. I really liked it. You get later on, and like, because the pilot, it did suffer a little bit of the pilotitis stuff for me. but they hit on it with the other 2 episodes, and I could see myself watching this at least for the first season. Depending on how, because I think it's only going to get like a 12 episode first season. And to be honest, this is something that would get me to watching the Thursday shows more. Like, if it aired on Thursday, like, because I've given up on Good News, even though apparently there's or not Good News, The Good Place, even though apparently it's in the same universe as Parks and Rec. I've given up on Great News, and then Superstore I'm occasionally watching and all that. So, I mean, there's not really a show on Thursday that I am wanting to watch on NBC right now.
And that's the thing, is I'm not someone who watches stuff as a block of things. Oh man, there was another show I could have actually said that I was watching, but I was interested in this because it's Glenn Howerton, and because his attitude is very fun to me. It's like Jason Bateman in Bad Words. He's just got that smarminess and that kind of evil attitude, but he's just so good at it that you root for him.
Yeah.
As like, he's a giant asshole, but you love him as a giant asshole. And he's so far less rapey in this than he is as Dennis. He doesn't have the Dennis system, but I love his character in Always Sunny in all these sick and like, oh shit, that got dark really fast kind of aspects of it. It suits that show. And seeing him get to do this character, which is again very familiar, but aimed towards a different kind of program and a different story, works really well too.
Yeah.
I wish him the success of having the show take off. I would rather see long breaks and shorter seasons of Always Sunny with everybody than to see him leave that program.
But do you think though that because now we've got Caitlin Olsen who's splitting time between the Mick and It's Always Sunny, and then Glenn Howerton, do you think this could be an ending point for It's Always Sunny?
It could either be an ending point for the show, or it could be a reinvention, like when they brought in Frank in the second season, and Dee and Dennis leave the show, and it becomes something else with the bar, and they introduce more characters. Maybe they do more stuff with the waitress, and she's actually Charlie Day's wife. There's a lot of things that could happen with it, and as creators, I trust them. And it doesn't mean that they have to disappear forever, but if they're busier with other jobs, and hopefully it doesn't become the 4th season of Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Where it's like we just try to shoot around everything and it makes a really convoluted mess. But yeah, if I had to lose Dennis from Always Sunny, I do like the show, so it's not like I'm losing Glenn Howerton. I would, at this point in time, I'm interested in sticking around to see how this goes on. That first episode was really good. Both Erin, my wife, and I really liked it.
Yeah. So we are going to take a short break, and we will be right back.
The galaxy far, far away feels closer now than ever before, and your guides through this galaxy are ready to help. I'm Zach Hagenbusher, one half of the new Jedi Archives podcast with Ben Schultz. Join us every other Tuesday for our experiences with the Star Wars saga, from the core films that we know and love, well, some of them, to the annals of history and the works that shaped Star Wars into what we know it as today. Just jump in wherever you'd like. Download an episode of the new Jedi Archives today.
And we are back, and it is time for the ElseWords. This is the portion of the show where we talk about, well, basically we're expanding ElseViews with the trailers of some of the trailers from the Super Bowl. I'm thinking there's one that we didn't put in here that I don't remember seeing, and that's the Avengers Infinity War trailer. So honorable mention to that, because I'm sure it's good, but let's just go right down the list here, because we got 4 of the trailers. They're all comic book themed because, well, it's comic book sci-fi themed because, why not? It's our show. Let's start off with Venom. So This one is the movie coming out in October. Stars Tom Hardy. I believe that's Tom Hardy narrating the trailer, right?
I'm not sure. Do I recognize Tom Hardy's actual voice at this point? I don't know.
Because I mean, if so, it's him doing American accent. But
well, the character, if we're going off of the classic character, which I don't know why we would, because none of this looks anything like anything that I recognize from the comics. I believe the character is supposed to be American. So yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to see if it says. Yeah, he plays Eddie Brock is his name. But this looks a little bit like the like they're bringing in some aspects on the Eddie Brock side of Flash Thompson with Agent Venom, where he's almost like to me like they're, at least with how this trailer is, like they're trying to make him possibly be a good guy. But I mean, it could just be, me looking into things differently and stuff. But I mean, the trailer, it's a really short trailer. It's only like what?
It's a teaser. It's a movie that's not coming out until October, so I don't expect them to give a lot away. At the same time, it was a lot of him sitting in a MRI machine, or seeing him walking and behind his shoulders with his head hunched down in two different scenes, just kind of meshed together. And remember how last week I was so excited for that new Superman show that starred Superman and was all going to be about Superman, and then we realized, of course, that Superman is not in the Superman show at all.
Yeah,
this is a movie trailer for Venom that is completely absent of Venom. Like completely. It doesn't even put the name up on the screen of Venom at the end. It shows the Venom eyes mask thing, and then it transfers into a V, which is, I recall, was the final battle. But it's so not anything to do with any of the comics at all in this teaser, whatever it is. Like, none of it makes sense to me as a person who has read Venom in comics since he was introduced. Now, I'm not a Venom fan, per se, but this is just like, it could be anything. It could be absolutely anything else other than a Venom movie. Mm-hmm. Because there's no Spider-Man, there's no alien symbiote. We see some black goop in a fucking giant glass container that a bunch of scientists are looking at. Wow, that's great. I think Sony just had a movie like that, and everyone was hoping that it was going to be the prequel to Venom.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that Sony really strongly in favor of, is the fact that Venom isn't an alien. He's not the Clintar like he is in the comics. It is, I'm going to say, more like what Venom is on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon show on Disney XD, where it's a laboratory made creature thing out of DNA that they mysteriously acquired and stuff like that. But what are your hopes for the Venom movie, in all honesty?
Man, I know this is going to be me being a facetious asshole, but my hope is that it just,
like every other episode.
Yeah, but honestly, I just hope it doesn't come out. Yeah, because it feels in every way so far, limited exposure to what it actually is. It just feels wrong. Like it feels like the wrong direction to be going in, when we're seeing the right moves happen with what they did with Spider-Man, going and being a part of the MCU. All of this just feels, might as well call it anti-Venom, because it's so totally not the source. Again, only from what I'm limitedly seen.
Yeah.
It's just a goofy mistake. And when you realize that on top of this, they have this Silver and Black movie that they're supposed to be doing, that is the same sort of concept of, it's Spider-Man characters, but it's got fuck all to do with Spider-Man, probably. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe at some point we do get Peter Parker in this, or we get a tie-in for the other stuff that's going on. But I don't get it. And to me, I can't imagine that the people who know the character see this and give a shit about it. So if it just turns out to be a good movie that has nothing to do with Venom the comic, that's fine. And maybe it will get an audience for that, but I think people will still be going, but it's not a Venom movie.
Yeah. Now Carrie's bringing up on the ground because he said anti-Venom. He's like, anti-Venom? No, that's a spinoff. No, anti-Venom is the parody movie that Auntie Donna is going to do about this movie.
No, I thought it was Aunt May. Aunt May has always been your greatest enemy. She killed Uncle Ben.
Yeah, only when she spits the sick beats, yo.
Word.
The next movie trailer that we're going to talk about is
did you enjoy the trailer? Did you like it?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those. So typically I have a thing of I will do my best to quit watching something once I am satisfied. I am not satisfied with this trailer yet. So they still got to show me a little bit more to prove that I want to watch this movie. You know, at least to where it's not like, okay, I have Movie Pass, I'm going to spend it on this, you know, movie's free, ha ha ha, sort of deal.
So you're not against it, but you're not necessarily for it yet either.
Yeah, exactly. Now, a word of caution if they are listening to us. I know they're not, but still, please do not go down the Suicide Squad route of just releasing the tiniest thing every goddamn day. You know, like, so that's the only thing I asked for. Anyways, moving on to the next trailer. It is the Deadpool 2 trailer. And I gotta say, I love this trailer because of the fact that we're getting more Deadpool and all that. But it makes me wish that we had like Deadpool trailers in like Deadpool the trailer style in the whole movie. Like they on DVD they release this as, you know, where they're doing like some pre-production stuff, and it's like, oh, we're gonna cut and do the scene with Deadpool playing with the toys like we did in the movie, or like we did in the trailer.
You want to see Deadpool MST3K Deadpool? Yeah, I think that's a perfectly cool idea, and I believe that would be something that would sell me on a Blu-ray of the Deadpool movies in a time where everything I've gotten into now is just streaming. If that was like, hey, if you buy the Blu-ray, you'll get all this extra content. You'll get the director's commentary, except instead you get the Deadpool commentary, and you'll get moments where it'll actually just interspertially have Deadpool like show up on the screen and like start pointing shit out and making fun of it and everything. Kind of like what they do in the Spider-Man cartoons is like, you have the Spider-Man cartoon, then you see the small body Spider-Man show up and like, and then Iron Fist like really literally fisted me. Like that. Obviously, that didn't happen.
I think I could see this going one better. They just call it the director's commentary, but then and they have the director starting out, and you just hear like him getting knocked out. Like at first, I'm like gunshot, but I'm like that could be harsh. It's like him just getting knocked out, and then Deadpool's like, "Oh no," or he's just sleeping, and then we get this. But
then Wade says, "I already took out the director from the first film. You think I'm not going to do it again?"
Yes. But no, so I mean, I love this trailer. I mean, now this, to contradict what I said about the Venom trailer, because they air some stuff that will be in the movie, but they do it in a way with the comedy, with throwing in Deadpool playing with the toys and stuff like that. I feel like I will probably watch the other trailers, because where it might spoil some storyline stuff, there's going to be the added funny of things that we won't see in the movie because it's only in the trailer.
Yeah, what we talked about at the beginning of the show with marketing and stuff, that's the one thing, is that Deadpool, the first movie, nailed the marketing in every single way.
Oh, yeah.
Did things that were just so out there and worked out spectacularly that built up a huge interest in a film that very easily could have been, like Blade or something that was like good and people enjoyed it, but it built a huge audience comparatively and was at that point in time became the biggest success in R-rated movies. The expectations are very high for what they're going to do with marketing for this, but we've already had the Bob Ross teaser and now the Deadpool playing with dolls and the green arm. Like, what the fuck? We couldn't finish that in post already? It's not like a fucking mustache. Like that ability to still shit on other movies, and not just DC movies, but it's a good burn for a DC movie that needs to be a little bit burned. And then we get real footage of the film and real footage of Josh Brolin as Cable. And we get what is tonally like a very serious character walking into Deadpool's world. How is that going to affect the story of this? Because we're kind of splitting it up between two heroes, although it seems like Cable's as much of an antagonist as he is another protagonist. It will be funny to see how they balance that. And since we've seen pictures of Domino, we know Domino's in this. We've also now seen what looks like the six-pack, which on a shot with Deadpool and Domino, we see Terry Crews as a character that looks like he could be straight out of the comics of the GW Bridge character that was introduced at the time of Deadpool and Cable were. Shatterstar looks to be standing behind them. There's another character that looks like it could be Kane, or it could be a number of other X-Force characters, because it was just so blurry. Like, that's some real world building in this beyond two very big characters already with Domino and with Cable. So, like, that's gigantic. And go ahead.
Well, and also, it looks like they're, expanding Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Yes, which is great. So more Colossus, more Negasonic. The characters that were already there are going to still be involved in this, but to add that much to it, and the potential was always the hope to spin off to do an X-Force movie. This could be the sequel that. Remember when it was always like the next movie adds another character, so it's not just one villain, it's two villains, and then it adds three villains, and it's like a fucking three. We knew that we did too much. Like in this, it could be that we're adding too much, or it could be they know exactly how to make that balance work. I going off of past experience, I know that they at least know how to do Deadpool really well.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as they can keep that up, I'm definitely along for the ride for this right now. And they'd be hard pressed to not get my money at this point.
No, yeah, definitely. The next one, keeping with the movie side of things, so I'm gonna switch it up here, is Solo, a Star Wars story. Now this one, it's again teaser trailer, aired during the Super Bowl. I think all these aired during the Super Bowl, right? Did the Jessica Jones one air during the Super Bowl?
There was a teaser for Solo during the Super Bowl. I don't remember if the full trailer came out until a day later.
Okay, yeah. So this is the I'm blanking on his name, Alden Emmerich.
We'll all blank on his name because he's the most forgettable part of the trailer.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That is so ruthless. I feel bad because it was always
Corey,
going to be
sit in the corner and think about what you just said there.
No, if I think about it, then I'm not going to do the show anymore. It was always going to be, you're the guy who's not Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And I don't think they could have gotten the most like Harrison Ford, which they didn't. They went in another direction. But that's such a hard thing to step into. And I've always said, from when they announced this, I don't want to see someone else be Han Solo.
Yeah.
I would rather not have a Han Solo standalone movie than to have one without Harrison in the role.
But here's what I will give him credit for. he is not doing a Han Solo impression. He is not doing a Harrison Ford impression. He
Right.
is making the character his own. I would much rather that than this is him doing an impression and everyone going, oh, well, he's trying to be him, blah, 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 blah. No, it's him being, it's almost like they're trying to do a James Bondification of the character. Where,
right, which is absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah.
When they did Young Indiana Jones, they had two people who did not look like Harrison Ford at all playing Indiana Jones in that show of two different ages, and it worked for that show. On the other hand, the flip side of that is Donald Glover as young Lando is my world right now.
Yeah.
Him in that fucking blue cape and that yellow shirt, and I'm just like, that is the movie I would watch. That is the spit in the face to my whole statement of like, I don't want anybody else playing Han Solo, but fucking Donald Glover as Lando. Holy shit.
But yeah, I mean, the one thing I will give for this trailer is it looks like they're getting, like, it still feels dark. It feels dark and gritty in a lot of places, but it feels like everything, a lot of the stuff was practical. Like the speeders, I'm like, there's parts in the trailer where I'm like, those are just cars. Like they didn't CG out the stuff, but then when I go back, I'm like, oh no, they did. It's just like everything looks super practical, which is what I love with these Star Wars movies, because I mean, yes, CG is great. I love CGI and all that stuff, but it takes away from the movie in times. And
the other part of it is what I got of the story from the trailer and with some of the dialogue. It really reminded me of the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek with Han as Kirk in that, of like, you know, just like, I'm just a rebel and I'm not going to play by your fucking rules. And then the old captain guy is like, well, you know, your dad made me feel like you were something worth investing in. And I know you're rebellious, but what are you rebellious against? Because we got a fight on our hands and we could sure use a guy like you. I know none of that's actually the dialogue or even the story from, but it just felt so familiar in that take.
Yeah,
but the rest of the stuff, especially when they got the whole group together and there were parts of them in the Falcon and the cockpit and everything, felt really fun. And that's exactly the kind of attitude that I want from my Star Wars. It's what was missing in the prequels for me, is that kind of like that group and just the rogues aspect. I loved that.
So before we move on,
I do think it was a mistake to give Chewbacca a perm, like a full-on 70s Afro perm.
So
probably
I will,
wrong way to go.
Yeah, I will ask you before we talk about the Jessica Jones trailer. This is from Growly. Who do you prefer as young Indy, River Phoenix or Sean Patrick Flannery? Now, I cannot answer this because I have not seen Young Indiana Jones, but you can.
Well, Sean Patrick Flannery had an actual story. You know, River Phoenix didn't really feel like Indiana Jones to me. The cockiness and stuff, and the telling of like how he got the scar on his chin, why he hates snakes, all that stuff was very fun as an intro to that movie. But Sean Patrick Flannery actually got to be Indiana Jones, and River Phoenix got to be a kid that turns into Indiana Jones. I think that kind of answers your question. I think Sean got the better material to work with, although River did a very good job in the context of that film.
No, yeah, definitely.
So Solo do you feel like Solo is a must see for you, or is it a wait and see for you?
It would right now. It would possibly depend on when Last Jedi gets released. You know, if it gets released before Solo comes out, because I am still yet to see Last Jedi.
But this has nothing to do with Last Jedi.
I know, but still, there's part of me that feels like if I see this before seeing Last Jedi, then I'm doing it wrong.
That's like saying that you need
it. I know it doesn't make sense, but it's because I've been wanting, you know, trying to save myself to where I go into it completely blind and failing with that. Where with this, it's sort of like, I mean, I want to go see it because where I do like like the actor who was playing Harrison Ford, or not Harrison Ford, who was playing Han Solo. Because I loved him in Hail Caesar. It's one of those things where just part of me feels like I need to see, watch The Last Jedi first. I know it's weird, but it's just how it is.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's a wait and see.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it just as what's here. I have other criteria that still come into play as to why I may or may not see it. That's perfectly fine. It's funny, but I can relate to your quirkiness on it. I have plenty of quirks myself when it comes to stuff, and so yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
For me right now, the reason I would see this is Donald Glover. Absolutely, the selling point for me is what's got my money and putting me in a seat in the theater is Donald Glover as Lando.
Yeah.
That does not mean I cannot be talked out of it if it gets just shit talked when it hits, because I'm probably not going to see it opening weekend no matter what.
Yeah.
Like this may be something where the reviews actually matter to me. And on top of that, if the footage looks less and less enticing, or if I hear the story just doesn't sound interesting, those could be things that keep me from it. It's not an instant yes, absolutely. But the most likely thing, and it is a big compulsion for me, is that scene in the cockpit of all of them. If you get Chewie and Lando and Han and whoever the other new characters are all together, and those kind of moments, that's the stuff that looks fun to me. That looks like a kind of Firefly thing to me, which was definitely attributed a lot to Han Solo with how Firefly those characters were. I could see really enjoying this. I would like to enjoy it. I would like it not to be a hot mess. I think some people are rooting for it to fail. And certainly there's a lot of things stacked up against it because of the history of this film and how it got made eventually, but all the missteps along the way. Man, I'm not in love with the idea of it, but I may actually really like it. I hope I would like it.
Yeah. So the final trailer that we were going to talk about.
Well, I wanted to talk about one that we skipped. I don't know why it's not on the list. Probably because it came out before we did the show last week, but Ant-Man and Wasp.
Okay, yeah. I haven't seen that trailer, so.
Okay, so that's why it was skipped.
Well, I just didn't see it in our Slack. That's the only reason why I didn't see it.
Yeah. It looks like a reasonable follow-up to what Ant-Man was. Ant-Man's already not my favorite of the Marvel movies. It's rewatchable like all the Marvel films are, but it's not like the top of my stack of like, oh, I'm going to throw an Ant-Man right now. But when it's on, I'll like sit and enjoy it because Paul Rudd's great. All the stuff that happened, it was fun. It's still kind of like that stab of, oh, but if Edgar Wright had actually done the movie the way that he was going to do it, how good could it have been? So I'm interested to see what the person who had to take over after Edgar Wright left can do now, developing this film himself, as opposed to kind of picking up the pieces of something that was there, like a Ron Howard Han Solo film. I like how they're utilizing Evangeline Lilly. One thing that I don't hear a lot of people say is that they say that this is going to be like the romantic comedy film of the Marvel Universe, which they've all have, not all, but a lot of them had a little bit of aspects of that. Tony and Pepper, Steve and Bucky, and Loki and everybody. But in this, they're saying, well, it's Ant-Man and Wasp, so it's about the relationship. But Ant-Man and Wasp is actually also Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know Michelle Pfeiffer is going to show up in this as his wife, as Evangeline Lilly's mother. So
Janet Van Dyne.
Right. So there is the fact that Ant-Man and Wasp as a title, we could be getting misled as that it's about these two characters, but it may be as much about those two characters. It's sort of like a given for me at this point that I'm going to go see the Marvel movies as they show up. Is this at a range of Avengers? No. Is it at a range of Black Panther, which is the other single character getting a movie this year? No. Black Panther is right now the Marvel movie that I'm most excited for. Above Avengers Infinity War. Like that movie, I'm just so jazzed over because it looks like it's doing so many new things. And Avengers Infinity War, after Avengers 2 and then going into Captain America Civil War, I feel like we've just had the Avengers every year for a while. That like getting Black Panther and having that be something so just visually and emotionally different from this other stuff, that's more exciting to me. But I'm, as far as Ant-Man and Wasp, yeah, I'm in the chair. You know, I can't not be.
Yeah. And also what I will add really quick if I can find her, but the actress who plays Shuri, his sister, great in the this latest season of Fantastic, or not Fantastic, of Black Mirror. She's in the final episode in there. So good. In that. So yeah. Letitia Wright is her name. But yeah, check that. I'm right there with you on Black Panther. And actually on Ant-Man and Wasp, you know, it's, you know, Marvel movie it's just one of those things that it makes sense to me to go see it. But yeah, so the final trailer, unless there's another one you wanna spring on, right? Is Jessica Jones. Now this is the Netflix show. Actually, it's funny because they were talking about on the merger news, or not the merger, the Disney streaming service news on I want to say it was like Comic Book Resources or whatever. It was one of those in my Feedly reader, and I had to laugh because they put Jessica Jones season 3. I'm like, wait a minute, it's only season 2, right? Like I had the second question. I'm like, haha, they messed up. Ha 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 ha. Laugh at them. But that's besides the fact. This trailer here, honestly, reminded me a lot of Brian Michael Bendis' run right now on Jessica Jones, the comic book. And I love that. Like I'm loving how that looks and all that stuff. I don't know when we're getting it, but I sort of hope that we are getting it soon.
I feel like it is soon. I feel like I want to say it was April or something, but I could be wrong on that. But there was one scene, and I only watched the trailer once. I haven't gone back and rechecked it out, but there was one scene where it looked like something was sort of dissolving, and it almost looked like it was dissolving into ants. And there was a scene in Alias where she was dating Scott Lang, and Scott Lang was laying in bed with her, and she woke up and she turned over and he was all covered with ants. And it was her head getting fucked with by the Purple Man, I think. But it just, I was like, there's stuff in Alias that hasn't gotten covered in that original series by Bendis that could be drawn from, but obviously can't be done the same way. You know, we're not going to get Scott Lang in the series. And there's just so many things that need to change and be added. And since I'm not reading the current series of Jessica Jones, I'm not sure how much they can even pull from that, because isn't part of it that she's married to Luke Cage at this point?
Yeah, in the comic,
has a kid.
She's married to Luke Cage, has a kid, and all that stuff. But yeah,
and Squirrel Girl's her nanny.
Is it Squirrel Girl?
It was for a while.
Yeah, I want to say it was someone else, but yeah, and then there's the friendship with, well, sort of friendship with Carol Danvers and Jessica Drew, and who we haven't seen yet.
But in the show, it's Patsy Walker.
Yep.
as becoming Hellcat, which is one of the things that I was very excited for in the trailer. She does this. She's so perfect as Jessica Jones with the just like making fun of everything of everybody else. Like she's just so pissed off at all the stuff. Like she talks about working with other superheroes, and basically she makes some snarky comments about Defenders. If there is just like one thing an episode where she just talks shit about Iron Fist, I will be so happy. Just like put Danny Rand in his fucking place every chance you get, because God, he is so fucking lame. He's so fucking lame in these shows.
Yeah.
That I would love. But the cast from the previous season, the guy who lived in her building, looks to have more depth in this. We see an introduction of a new potential villain. We see Carrie Moss come back as the lawyer working with her again and just trying to keep her on the straight and narrow to a certain degree. I liked all of it. It's easy to do more than the same of that first season because that first season was so good. Not perfect. There were definitely things that they could tighten up, but one of the strongest series in the Netflix bunch so far.
No, yeah, definitely. Sorry, I'm doing a little thing here because like I fell down the Wikipedia rabbit hole as we were going through the Jessica Jones trailer. The Lydia Wright, who's playing Shuri, she has I don't know if and many other people who have this. She has had a movie come out for 2018, or will have, for every month. She has
Nice.
The Commuter. She has The Commuter in January, Black Panther February, Ready Player One in March. She skips April, I believe, and then Avengers Infinity War. So out of the first 5 months, she has 4 movies come out in there. I don't know many people who've done that.
It seems like something that a Nick Cage or a Kevin Bacon have done.
Yeah, but it's really cool. So I saw 2018. I'm like, wait a minute, she's in Ready Player One. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go watch that even more now. But anyways, because I mean, these are 5 trailers that we have talked about that I will watch. I'll watch the movies for at some point, whether it be opening weekend or wait a week because I didn't get paid or whatever and I didn't manage money right or however that might be. But I pass this off to you guys. What are you guys going to be watching? Let us know what trailers or commercials do you love from the Super Bowl. You can let us know by sending us a mail. Send us an email at mail@ElseNerds.com. And you can also leave us a voicemail at 805-328-3966. And you can subscribe to us over at gncast.com/subscribe. And it's also where you go, you look on Facebook, you will find Galactic Netcasts by searching for Galactic Netcasts. Where you can find all the Galactic Network stuff. And it's also where you can find the Twitter. And then you can find the show Twitter at ElseNerds. You can follow our producers at Beatmaster80. Evan is at Mr_Fusion. Sean Burns is at SBurnsPA, and I can be found at that Gregor. And actually, I'm going to plug my Twitch because now that I have a computer that will actually do Twitch streaming, and once I figure out how to do Twitch streaming from the Xbox, I will probably be streaming on there when I'm not working. So, twitch.tv/thatgregor. Is where you can find that. And Corey, where can people find the comics of one Levi Strauss or Krauss?
Every time, man.
I did it again.
Levi Strauss, you can find in your average Macy's, maybe a Target. But if you're looking for the comics of Levi Krauss, that best place to go would be donutscomics.com.
All right. And the final thing to be said is this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production. We will see you next time.
Or else we'll completely blow to the news segment again and talk about Taco Bell.
For more on this Galactic Network podcast, go to gncast.com. That's GNCASTS.com.